You wake up before the sun, the room still wrapped in that early morning quiet. Maybe the birds haven't even started yet. You sit on the edge of the bed, feet searching for the floor, joints a little stiff, breath slower than it once was. You pause, and in that pause, you notice it, again. That part of you that used to rise with the morning, eager and alive, doesn't anymore. It's become a familiar silence, not painful exactly, just quietly disappointing. You don't speak of it, not to your partner, not to your doctor, not even to yourself if you can help it, but it's there. That subtle change, that absence, that dimming of something that once made you feel like a man. Most men chalk it up to aging. This is just how it goes, they think, slowing down, drying up, getting colder, inside and out. The pills are there if you want them, those little blue shortcuts, but they come with their own shadows, headaches, heart flutters, a sense of artificiality that feels disconnected from your real self. You didn't ask for a miracle. You're not chasing youth. You just want to feel something real again. A little more life in your body, a little more heat in your blood. I've seen this story unfold in hundreds of my patients. One man in particular stays with me. James was 67, a retired electrician from Milwaukee, wore flannel in the summer, had a quiet way about him. He came in not for intimacy issues, but because he felt off, like he was living one step removed from himself. "I don't know, Doc," he said, rubbing his hands together. "It's like the lights are on, but the wires are loose." He wasn't depressed, but he wasn't fully present either. He missed the morning energy, the spark, especially down there. James didn't want medication. "I've seen what that stuff does," he told me. "I don't want my body to forget how to do things naturally." That struck me, because so many men feel that same way, whether they say it or not. They want restoration, not replacement. So I offered him something simple. Nothing to buy, no big promises, just an old technique I'd recommended before, something passed down through generations in Ayurvedic and traditional healing circles, a kind of morning ritual using oil, not as a cure, but as an invitation. He gave it a shot. I remember the look on his face when he came back a few weeks later, not triumphant, but softer. He said the first time he tried it, it felt strange, almost embarrassing. But then, over the days, something began to shift. A slight warmth returned to his lower belly, a tingling, subtle but undeniable. He started waking up with more presence, not just physically, but emotionally too. He began stretching again in the mornings, drinking warm water, laughing more with his wife. The oil wasn't a miracle, but it was a key, a way back in. Now let me explain what's actually happening in the body, because when you understand it, it all makes a little more sense. As we age, circulation naturally declines. Blood vessels, especially the tiny capillaries in the pelvic region, lose elasticity. Think of them like old garden hoses. Over time, they stiffen, and the flow isn't what it used to be. Add to that reduced nitric oxide production, and the result is slower, colder blood flow. For a man, that doesn't just mean lower energy. It can mean decreased sensation, weaker function, and a growing sense of disconnection from the lower half of the body. What's more, the body responds to disuse with even more withdrawal. If blood isn't regularly moving through certain areas, especially the pelvis, it begins to assume it's no longer needed there. The nerves grow quieter, the muscles atrophy. But the incredible thing is, the body can be reminded. It responds to attention. Gentle, consistent stimulation can signal to the brain and circulatory system, hey, this area still matters. Send energy, send warmth, send life. And that's where the oil comes in. Not just any oil, though. The ones I recommend most are castor oil and warm sesame oil. Castor oil is deeply penetrating. It's been used for centuries to improve blood flow, reduce inflammation, and soften scar tissue. Sesame oil is grounding, warming, and full of natural antioxidants. When you apply them to the lower abdomen, inner thighs, and perineal region, they don't just sit on the skin. They're absorbed. They stimulate. They signal. And when combined with the heat of your hands and a few minutes of focused touch, the effect goes deeper. Imagine it. You wake up. You take a few breaths. You warm a teaspoon of oil between your palms. Not rushed, not distracted, just present. You apply it gently, moving your hands in slow circles around the lower belly, down toward the inner thighs. Not forcefully, just an invitation. You let your hands pause at the base of the pelvis. No need to go further. The goal isn't arousal, it's circulation, warmth, connection, a quiet reminder to your body, I haven't forgotten you. It's remarkable what can happen with just 5 minutes of care. Men report not only improved blood flow and sensation, but an emotional shift, a sense of returning to themselves, of honoring a part of the body they'd silently mourned. One man told me, "I used to feel like that part of me had retired. Now it feels like it's just waking up from a long nap." That's the kind of feedback I hear again and again. Not some grand transformation overnight, but a gradual reawakening, a thawing. It's important to say this isn't just about technique, it's about how we treat ourselves. Most men, especially in later years, are told to tough it out, push through, don't talk about the softer things. But this kind of morning ritual invites a different mindset, one of care, not conquest, of listening, not fixing. And when practiced daily, even for a week or two, it begins to shift something not just in the body, but in the mind. You start the day from a place of calm, groundedness, awareness. Of course, the oil alone isn't a silver bullet. That's never how the body works. But used as part of a larger morning rhythm, it can become powerful. Picture this. After your oil massage, you take a short walk, just to the end of the block and back. Or maybe you stretch lightly at the foot of your bed. You sip a warm glass of lemon water. You breathe. You hum softly for 30 seconds. Yes, hum. It stimulates nitric oxide, which widens your blood vessels and supports healthy circulation. These might sound small, and they are, but together they become a kind of ceremony, a way of saying, this body is still mine, I still live here, and I choose to care for it. Over time, these little acts build something far greater than the sum of their parts. Not just physical responsiveness, but a sense of dignity, of intimacy with oneself. And for many men, that alone can begin to repair what time has taken. James told me something else weeks after he began. He said, "It's not that I feel 25 again. I don't want to. But I do feel more like myself, like I've plugged something back in." That stayed with me. Because really, that's the goal. Not youth, but vitality. Not performance, but presence. Not fixing, but remembering. And it begins in those first few minutes of the day, when the world is still quiet, and you have a chance to meet yourself again, without distraction, before the noise, before the obligations, before the world begins to ask things of you. That moment is yours. And what you do with it, how you touch your own body, how you speak to yourself in silence, can shape everything that follows. In just a moment, I'll walk you through the second half of this ritual, how to deepen it with supporting habits that are simple, sustainable, and powerful when practiced together. But first, I want you to really feel this pause. Consider what would change if your morning started not with frustration or resignation, but with warmth, with movement, with care. It's not complicated. It doesn't require equipment, subscriptions, or the approval of anyone else. Just your attention, just your willingness, just 5 minutes. That's how everything begins to change. So now that you've felt into the beginning of this process, this quiet morning shift toward warmth and awareness, let's go a little deeper, because what you began with your hands and the oil is just the first breath of something fuller. It's a signal, yes, but also an invitation. And if you accept it, gently, not urgently, your body will begin to answer in ways that surprise you. Slowly at first, then unmistakably. What I often remind my patients is that the body wants to return to balance. It's wired for healing, for function, for vitality. But it listens not to noise, but to consistency, repetition, respect. And when we begin with something as humble as oil and intention, we lay a foundation that other habits can grow from. Like morning movement, nothing elaborate, just standing up, feeling your feet beneath you, and letting your legs wake up. Even a slow stroll through the kitchen or a light walk outside to feel the early air can act like an internal switch. Motion creates flow, and that flow feeds the very areas that have grown quiet. Pair that with breath. You don't have to learn a technique, not yet. Just become aware. Breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, 5 times, slowly. Feel the belly rise. Let it fall like a tide. Breath is the oldest medicine we have, and yet it's the one most of us forget. When you slow it down, your nervous system calms, blood pressure eases, and that same constricted, shallow circulation, especially in the pelvic area, begins to open up. It's as if the body starts listening again. And here's something most men never hear from a doctor: sound can heal too. That may sound strange, but humming, just a soft, simple hum, activates nitric oxide production in the sinuses and sends a ripple through your blood vessels. Try it for 30 seconds. Feel the vibration in your chest, in your throat, even in your lower belly. It's subtle, but it matters. It's another way to say to your body, I'm still here. I still want to feel. Alongside that, hydration plays a part. The blood that nourishes your body, that fills the capillaries and supports intimacy, is mostly water. Yet most older adults wake up dehydrated without knowing it. A glass of warm water with a squeeze of lemon not only rehydrates, it gently awakens the liver, the gut, and yes, circulation to the lower regions. Think of it like adding warmth to cold soil. You give the roots what they need to soften and stretch again. And then there's the matter of the pelvic floor, an area often ignored unless there's a problem. But with gentle attention, it can become a source of strength and flow again. I'm not talking about intense exercises, just simple awareness. Tighten the muscles you'd use to stop a stream of urine. Hold for a few seconds. Release. Do this 5 times as you stand at the sink, brushing your teeth or waiting for the kettle to boil. These muscles are the foundation of male sexual health. But more than that, they remind the brain that this area is alive, responsive, and worth maintaining. All of these practices, small on their own, become something profound when woven together. They create a rhythm, a sense of returning to yourself each morning, not to fix what's broken, but to care for what's still deeply alive. This isn't about becoming who you were at 30. It's about reclaiming who you still are at 60, 70, or even 80. A man with warmth in his veins, energy in his steps, and softness where softness matters. There's a quiet dignity in this work, and I do call it work, not in the burdensome sense, but in the sacred sense. The work of returning to your own body, not as an enemy to control, but as a home to care for. The oil is part of that. The breath, the walk, the water. Each step says something to your physiology. Each one says, we're not giving up on this. And slowly, the body hears. Blood vessels begin to expand more willingly. Nerves fire more quickly. The sensations return. Not all at once and not with drama, but with depth. A little more presence in the mornings, a bit more fullness, maybe a moment of arousal that feels real again, not mechanical, but earned. That's what most men want, if they're honest. Not performance on demand, but a sense that their body is still capable of connection, that they haven't lost something they thought was gone for good. What I want you to know is that this is possible. I've seen it in men who felt invisible, who were convinced their best years were over, who had stopped reaching out for their partners because they feared rejection, or worse, apathy. And then, after a few weeks of gentle practice, something shifted, not just in their bodies, but in their eyes. They stood taller, their voice carried differently, they laughed more, and their partners noticed, not because of some grand physical feat, but because there was warmth again, attentiveness, vitality. That's the heart of it. This whole journey isn't really about the oil or even the circulation, it's about vitality. The quiet confidence that comes when you feel connected to yourself again. When your mornings start with care instead of resignation. When your body becomes a source of presence instead of frustration. There's something deeply human about this. In our younger years, energy and desire are automatic. We don't think, we simply move, act, respond. But as we age, those impulses quiet. They don't disappear, but they ask more of us. They ask us to participate, to meet them with intention, with patience, with respect. And in return, we are offered a different kind of strength. Not the wildfire of youth, but the steady ember of wisdom. If you take nothing else from this, let it be this. Your body is not done. It may have changed. Yes, it may take longer to respond. It may need more care than it used to. But it is still yours, still capable of warmth, intimacy, sensation. And the path to rediscovering that begins quietly with the smallest gestures. Tomorrow morning, before the noise of the day starts, find that quiet moment again. Take the oil in your hands, warm it with your palms. Let your hands remember the places they've avoided. Let your breath move slowly, without rush. Walk a little, human, drink water. And as you do, listen, not with judgment, but with curiosity. Listen to how your body responds, what opens, what softens. And then do it again the next day, not because you're chasing some outcome, but because the act itself is worthy. Because you are worthy. There's nothing flashy here, nothing quick, but there is something sacred, something real. And in a world full of noise, real is rare. I'm Dr. Camila Cruz, and I've spent my career helping men like you, not just to regain function, but to reconnect with their lives. And what I can tell you with complete certainty is that the most powerful medicine often comes not from outside us, but from the choices we make each morning, the ones rooted in care, in consistency, in quiet hope. If this spoke to you, even just a little, consider sharing it with someone else who might need to hear it, or maybe just keep it for yourself as a reminder that you are not alone, that this is not the end of the story, that there's more life to be lived, in the blood, in the breath, in the soft places we so often ignore. And if you choose to begin, just 5 minutes tomorrow morning, I hope you'll feel what James felt. Not youth, not magic, but something better, a return, a reconnection, a sense deep in your bones that you're still here and you're still alive.